Hey, it's Terraform Time. I'm Jose Antonio Reyes, Senior Innovation Engineer at PagerDuty, and also one of the Terraform provider maintainer. Today, we are going to talk about distributing PagerDuty Terraform configurations through multiple repositories using Terraform Remote State feature, which is a very powerful feature for accessing remote states. But before moving forward, I would like to do a quick reminder about our weekly schedule, in which we are streaming, which is at 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific time at the official channels, PagerDuty official channels at Twitch and YouTube. You can also contact us at community-team at PagerDuty.com, and I really encourage you to join to our forums at community.pagerduty.com. Well, without further ado, let's move on to the main topic, which is, as I said, Terraform State. It's a feature of Terraform which allows you to fetch the outputs of a remote state. The keyword here, remote, has two meanings. The first one is that it only works with remote states. It doesn't work well. It does work with local state, but it is not very useful. Its main functionality is to access to actually a remote state, and it's Terraform state in another backend. So that's what I say, that the remote keyword in the remote state name has two meanings. So what I brought you today is, I will try to make this not too long for the sake of the time, but I plan to using, let me share with you the link to the Terraform Time code repository, which is where we've been uploading the code from the Terraform Time episodes, the code that I've been writing through this, through the latest 3 shows. I've been uploading it here. And this is the link to the remote state documentation. So again, what I plan to do is creating 2 folders here. One that will be the source of the remote state, and the other one will serve as repository accessing to the remote state. That's what I want to say. So let's jump right in and switch to my development environment. Let me zoom in this a bit. This is again the same repository, but in my machine. So I'm going to create the first repository by copying the HCL template. So copy HCL template, and let's call it 2024 01 17 and remote state. I'm going to call this remote state source. Let me think about this twice. Remote state. Well, this is. I'm going to call it source, and the other will be named state, remote state usage, maybe source, because it's not a destination. So I'm going to call this, let's call this source, and let's do the same again and call this usage. If you can think on a better name, please, I really encourage you to help me out a bit with the naming, because maybe you are better than me naming this. I just want to have one directory as the source of the remote state, and the other directory to use the remote, to actually use the remote state. So let's jump into the source one, and here I'm going to enter into the main.tf file, and this is just boilerplate configuration to create an user, an escalation policy, and a couple of services. This is part of the HCL template that you can find here. Each time I create a new folder here, I just copy this and start as quick as possible using and prototyping with Terraform. So all this is actually discardable, and I'm going to, as the remote state source, I want to keep not the theme. I only want to keep the escalation policy. Yes, that's what I want. And let me tell you why I want that. And I will remove this, the user, and let's also create and schedule. A second here. Okay. I'm going to also add and schedule, and I will explain to you right away why I'm going to do that. Let me first name this properly. I want to call this TF Remote State User, no one. I'm going to copy this. This is the name of the user, and I'm going to change it also here. And for the schedule, daily engineering rotation, no, primary remote state demo rotation. Rotation like this. I'm going to let all this like it is, only changing this, and TF remote user ID, and I'll get rid of this theme. Let me change real quick the escalation policy name too, trying to stick to a convention similar to the others. TF remote state main escalation policy. I'm going to copy this and paste it here, and we'll define two targets. One for the user, which will be remote state user, and the other target will be the escalation. This schedule, I won't be targeting the user, but the schedule. Schedule and PagerDuty schedule. The name of the schedule was, this is not a good name. TF remote state primary schedule, yes, like this. Paste it here. Okay, the Terraform configuration is now complete for the remote state source folder. And why I decided to write here configuration only for schedules and escalation policies. It's a very common practice while using our Terraform provider to have a separate repository for actually managing escalation policies, targeting the IDs of the schedules using data sources. But right now, because this is an example, and it's also possible to create schedules using the Terraform provider and creating a schedule. But let's imagine that these are two different teams. One that it's accountable for managing using Terraform, or related with escalation policies, user onboarding, and schedules. And the other team, which is the team that will be on call and registering new services, escalation, event orchestration, and all the tools and products around enhancing the incident response actual action, will have not one but many repositories. Maybe one repository for a specific context of the business, and other repository for another context. That's a very common practice and a recommended one, except for the resources or the Terraform resources that we have in our provider that can be distributed, like event orchestration routes, which can be distributed, and it needs to be in a central repository. So this will be the repository, the repository responsible for managing all that, all escalation policies, again, schedules and users. So I'm planning to push this to, okay, before moving forward, there are a few requirements that should be met in order to use a remote state. And let's recap on that, because I already mentioned it, but maybe it was like too shallow what I said. First thing first, the remote state should be a remote one. So you need to use maybe Terraform Cloud or any other remote backend that you might be using for your Terraform state. I don't know, let's say AWS S3 or Azure, Azure File Storage or something like that. So the state of this repository can, I don't plan this to be local. I plan this to be a remote one. And I'm going to use Terraform Cloud, because I really find that it's very straightforward to just start using Terraform Cloud. So I don't have it here. Oh, yes. I already have it here, I guess. No, I don't. Terraform Cloud. I'm going to open my Terraform Cloud console. And at the same time, this will allow us to go through the configuration process of a Terraform Cloud workspace. The description of how setting up Terraform Cloud workspaces and working with them, it's out of the scope of today's stream, but I'll try to describe it a bit. So I'm going to create a new workspace, and I'm going to call it, I'll set it up to to, okay, I'll set up to be managed through CLI workflow, and I'm going to call it remote state. Oh, I'm going to call it Terraform Time. Terraform Time remote state. Beautiful project, yes. I'll be creating a new workspace. It will contain letters, number, dashes as on underscores. Okay. TF time remote state. Like this. Okay. Now we have the TF time remote state workspace and my Terraform Cloud console. And I'll switch to my development environment. And just for the sake of making this, of streamlining the implementation, I already have a repository with a similar Terraform configuration, and I'm going to paste here the block of code that you need to set up your Terraform Cloud workspace. You need to define a remote backend. This is my organization, but the workspace is called TF time remote state, like this. And this is the provider that I want to use, PagerDuty 1. And I can here, I really don't need to like the Terraform init and those things, but I'll do it either way. Duplicate required provider configuration. Okay, I get it. Because we have here a versions file, and inside version files, I have the configuration that I just paste on the main file. So I'm going to main. I put out this here and put it all here. Right. So with this, I'm setting up the remote backend in my Terraform Cloud organization. And this is the name of the workspace that we just created. Okay. So again, let me check this out. Okay. Terraform init. I'm just running a Terraform init to enter this. Oh, sorry, Terraform lint, just to check if I enter something where or something. Oh, I did that wrong. I need to enter Terraform lint that. It seems like it's doing command line argument support. Oh, okay. Give me a second. Lint init version. I only need to enter this. Yes. Terraform plan. Just to check the syntax, because now I need to push this to the repository. The plan, because nobody required for initialization module. The variable is not set. Ah, okay, I get it. I need to. Oh, I got it. I need to set an environment variable, a new variable here. Give me a second. I'm going to do this. out of the screen. Oh. Okay. And this is going to be called PagerDuty token and variable. And let's holy. I'm going to open here again, Terraform Cloud. Terraform Time, Remote State. And let's try again to run the plan just to check that we have all set up to run this. I really don't need, yes. Oh, it's complete now. I really don't need to set up that new variable that I just entered here because I will run this, the plan and apply in a GitHub runner. I just forget that, sorry. So with this, okay, I am adding this, and now I want to add 2024 remote state source to the repository and git push. I'm going to commit this at 2024 01 17 remote state source project, I guess. Nope. Workspace. That's all. Okay. I'm going to push this. But before pushing this, I want to add a new GitHub action to the project. Yes, because this project doesn't have GitHub actions and I need one. Do I really need this? You know what? No. I won't enter more complexity here because if I change directory here, I can actually execute the plan locally using Terraform Cloud as the remote state. Okay, I'll do it like that. I'll go ahead and apply this. Look, before moving forward, what I was thinking and why I was trying to wrap my head around on how to continue with this is because when we are using a remote state, or in the case of using Terraform Cloud as the remote state, we have, well, many approaches and options to push the new state to Terraform Cloud or the remote state. However, one of the the more straightforward one is to keep the flow of executing your Terraform apply, plan and apply locally, and just pushing the Terraform state to the remote state. The other one is like I did here. This is our repository where I was doing an experiment to try to reproduce an issue with the provider, which is currently happening only on inside GitHub runners for GitHub actions. And because of that, I add an action for this, and this action, well, is executing the code inside GitHub runners. Like the latest run, this latest run is actually executing Terraform init, Terraform format, plan and apply inside this GitHub runner. But for what I want to do, which is only using Terraform state, remote state, this will introduce like more complexity and will take our attention out of the main topics. So because of that, I just decided to push directly this state, the state from the code, the Terraform code that I just wrote, directly to Terraform Cloud. And that's what I'm going to do. So the plan already worked. So I'm going to enter Terraform, apply for this. By the way, maybe you already realized that this Terraform plan execution is not happening in my local machine. It's actually happening on Terraform Cloud. If I review here the latest runs, I notice that here is where the execution happened. You can change that to keep the local flow, and to do that, you only need to switch to settings of the workspace and change the execution mode of the workspace. Right now is organization, the default one. If you choose custom, you can choose between remote, local, or having an agent similar to what Atlantis does. Not the same, but similar, because Atlantis you need to have an agent actually running Atlantis and watching the webhooks to do its magic. And if you want to stick to the local workflow, you only need to change this to local, save the share with specific workspace. Okay, this is the same that we are going to do, but inside, look at this, remote state sharing. It's the same that we are going to do. However, this is happening inside Terraform Cloud. Well, I guess this puts a layer of permissions on security over the bare Terraform state workflow. So I just changed this to happen locally, and now when I enter Terraform plan, it will happen locally. It won't try to sorry, I forgot to source my environment variables. And if I can enter this, okay, it just happened locally. Okay, let's enter Terraform apply to this. Let me change, let me review something here, because I noticed something, or I recall doing something here. Okay, this. Let's apply this. Sorry. Let's apply or approve. We already checked that the plan it's going to do what we expected to do. User schedule is an invalid value, must be, oh, the schedule reference. Okay, my bad. schedule reference, like this. Terraform apply auto approve. Okay. Now, okay, resources, 3 resources. Now, if we check the state on Terraform Cloud, well, it already updated, and it says that we have 3 resources, the resources that we just created. But I want to change something here. I did this wrong, or not wrong, but doing it like this is hard coding these values. That, well, if you want to reuse this code, you will have to remove this, or so I plan to, I prefer this to be like dynamic. So I'm going to put here remote, this as a new variable, remote backend organization org, and this one, let me also open this variables, like variable remote backend, it's, I misspell it, backend org, it's of type string, and it's not sensitive, and the other variable will be, yeah, the same, remote backend, oh, again, remote backend workspace name, game of type string, and this, okay, bar remote backend. I don't know what happened with my with my backend thing. I misspell it again and again. Or, okay, but now I need to declare these variables inside the Terraform workspace, because if I don't do this, it will fail because those variables are not available. So settings and state. Oh no, I don't know. I don't need to do that because I'm running this locally. Sorry, I don't need to create those variables there. Okay, we're ready to go. I will put that, and we'll say export. I'm going to source the variables that I just created with the name was, okay, remote backend or equals to, and the rows, and backend again, and this was workspace name, and the workspace name was this one. Okay, TF state, and now just to check, going to backend configuration block change. Using custom for, okay. Oh, okay, look at this. I change. I need to reissue Terraform. Oh, I change in the backend configuration has been detected, which may require migrating existing state. If you wish to attempt automatic migration of the state, use Terraform init migrate state. If you wish to store the current configuration with no changes to the state, yes, Terraform. I don't want to enter new changes because it was only a syntax change. I didn't know about that. Versions. I didn't know about this. Okay. I'll have to roll back this and remove these variables. And unfortunately, that will have to be hard coded. And it's understandable. Version. Okay, this will be hard coded here because it's required by Terraform. Sorry about that. Okay, now what are the changes? I change the schedule reference. Okay, this Terraform State. Okay, more changes. Terraform plan. Any changes? Okay, we haven't introduced any changes to the state. But now we have the remote state where we are going to reuse the IDs. I want to reuse the ID of this escalation policy. And the other requirement for using remote state is that you can only access to outputs at the root of the Terraform state. So you can't access directly to the resources attributes in the Terraform state, only if they are declared at the root of as outputs at the root. Sorry. So I'm going to declare here a new output that's going to be called TF remote state main EP ID for exposing the ID of this escalation policy. So for that, I'm going to use this and the ID. So this is the output of this state to be expected to use that we want to use on the other configuration. And let me push this, because if I don't push this, I won't be able to use it. So Terraform apply. Yes, I actually want to expose that output. Now, if I check the outputs here, let's refresh. Outputs. There we go. We have a new output here. Now we are ready to use this state in the other state. So for that, I will open here and the state usage. And here on state usage, I want to only create a service. I will get rid of all this, and I'll get rid of all this. And we have to declare a new data source, which is this one. This is the way how you do it. You need to declare to access the remote state. You need to leverage this data source, which is for which already exists in the as a built-in data source for Terraform. You don't need to declare an additional provider in order to use this data source called Terraform Remote State. You only use it and it will work. And I'm going to call this the remote state name. Again, here you need to put a Terraform resource name or Terraform data source name, which is customizable for your needs and use case. But for the sake of the example, I'll use the same name of the Terraform state, which is this Terraform state, remote, and here inside the config, this config block, inside the config attribute, we put the same credentials or the same data to refer to the place where the remote state we want to use is located at. For that, we have it in our versions file. And I'm going to change this to the Royce, and here for the time remote state. Now we are able to access the state, or sorry, the outputs of this remote state, only the outputs at the root level. And a way to know which are the current available outputs, it's to just execute a plan. Inconsistent. Oh, let me clean this out. Terraform init first. Okay. And again, Terraform plan. Oh, sorry. Let's comment this. And again, Terraform plan. Oh, no. Let me do it like this. I'm going to put a new output here, which is, I'm going to call it TF remote state. And the value will be data remote state outputs. Here we will be able to check on the available outputs to be referred on this Terraform remote state. And right now, the only remote output is this, because it's the one that we set on the other repository. So with that, we can come back here, uncomment this, and for the escalation policy, because we want to access to this escalation policy ID. I know we can do it through a data source, but if there is an state already offering those IDs managed by another team, then you only have to you only have to know about the available outputs for that of that state and use them in the other repositories like this, because at the right we have the remote one and here the local one using the remote state. So I'm going to go ahead and use the data source. You need to use this attribute of the data source outputs, and here you can put the value you want to use. And I'll get rid of this because I don't need it anymore. And if I run Terraform plan, look at that. This is going to create a new service with the ID of the escalation policy in the remote state, or the other configuration being managed by the team accountable for escalation policies, user onboarding, offboarding, and schedules, also teams and team memberships. And if I apply this, auto approve, and this state doesn't have relation with the other. This is a local state that I have in my computer, Terraform state list. And this state only has control over this service, but not over the remote state, because the remote state is only it's read only. You can access that. And to check, this is the other way to check which are the available outputs in the remote state. You enter remote state show, the name of the state, and here you can check out the available outputs to use in your distributed configuration. Additionally, let me try to, okay, the name of this service was DB service TF local, and I'm going to look for that service in my PT console, services, service directory. I have it here. No one is on call. Okay, that's okay. And now, as a distributed configuration, if I destroy this configuration, which is only accessing the state of the other configuration, but as a remote state, only for read purposes, I can enter here Terraform destroy our approve, and since the remote state is only a data source, it will only destroy the configuration in this state, in the distributed one, but not in the central. If I check out the state on the central repository, it's still there. It didn't suffer from the destruction in the distributed one. And because of this, I believe this is a very powerful tool to distribute configuration, your PagerDuty configuration, when you are using Terraform for managing your environment. Before wrapping up its state, I like to, give me a second. There is a change in variables. No, it's only a formatting change. And with this, yes, with this, I can add all this and git commit add 2024-01-17 remote state, and usage folder. Okay, we can push this safely, and name was source. I don't know if source is a good name. Remote state I'm going to use the words central and distributed. Now makes more sense to me. So I'm going to change that. This will be 2024, 2024-01, source by 2024-01-17, central. Change this 01-17 remote usage to 22-01-17 state distributed like this. Commit folder renaming. Git push. Git push for you to have it. Before moving on, I want to destroy the Terraform state list. I want to destroy all this. Terraform destroyed, I would approve. Okay. Sorry. It's destroying everything. Give me a few seconds. We don't have any resources nor outputs here in this workspace. And we already have, this is, okay. We already have the code here too. So that's it. I really wanted to show you the benefits and the workflow when using Terraform Remote State. So I really hope you can leverage this on during your Terraform, your PagerDuty Terraform Manager. So stay tuned. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.